Jeffrey Lionel Dahmer, also known as the Milwaukee Cannibal, was an American serial killer and sex offender who committed the rape, murder, and dismemberment of 17 men and boys between 1978 and 1991. With many of these late murders also involved necrophilia, cannibalism, and the permanent preservation of body parts, typically all or part of the skeletal structure.
I started having obsessive thoughts of violence intermingled with sex, and it just got worse and worse.
Jeffrey Dahmer was one of the most infamous serial killers of the 20th century. His crimes included luring victims into his home and strangling them before dismembering their bodies.
He related this was a person he really liked. He indicated that he had filleted his heart and kept it in the freezer, and he also kept his bicep. He indicated that he had eaten the thigh muscle of this subject, but it was so tough he could hardly chew it.
It made me feel like they were a permanent part of me.
Nobody was noticing that there were more than a dozen young men who were disappearing.
No one softened the blow for us. No one told us. No one prepared us. How could this be? How could I have not known about it?
I think it was around age 14 or 15. Started having obsessive thoughts of violence. I didn't know how to tell anyone about it, so I didn't. Just kept it all inside.
It's amazing how much a human being can hide from another human being.
On July 22, 1991, a man ran to police officers in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, claiming Dahmer threatened to kill him. When police arrived at Dahmer's apartment, they found Polaroids of bodies in various stages of dismemberment.
One of the officers said he opened the icebox. He heard a scream. It was only later that he realized that it was he himself who had screamed.
Afternoon, Your Honor. The defendant, Jeffrey Dahmer, is present in his own person by his attorneys, Gerald P. Boyle, Wendy Patricus, Scott Hansen, and Pat Fricker. Mr. Dahmer, you're charged with 4 counts of first-degree intentional homicide. If convicted of each of those counts, you face a term of life imprisonment. You're also charged with habitual criminality. That would add an additional 10-year penalty to each count upon conviction. Do you understand that?
I understand, Your Honor.
Mr. Boyle, have you been served with a copy of the criminal complaint?
Your Honor, we have. I would like to inform the court that yesterday in this courtroom I indicated to the court that, in my opinion, Mr. Dahmer was competent to understand the proceedings that are taking place in the courtroom, and he is likewise competent this date, so there is no challenge to the competency of Mr. Dahmer at this juncture for those legal purposes. As it relates to the other matters that are done at the initial appearance, I instructed Ms. Patricus to meet with Mr. Dahmer and read to him the criminal complaint which she has, and she has a statement to make relative to that.
Since Wisconsin has no death penalty, Dahmer was sentenced to 937 years behind bars. He was ultimately killed by a fellow inmate in 1994.